So, so there's a headline on myjoyonline.com that Ghanaians in Israel, they are not ready to come home, in spite of the Gaza Strip conflict. There's a picture of some building that has been reduced to rubble after a rocket attack in Tel Aviv, and in spite of all of that, Ghanaians there are saying, nah, 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 nah. As for returning to Ghana, dear, talanku small. Apparently, this came out in a conversation with Blessed Soga. Am I right,
Yes.
Raymond?
On foreign affairs, yes, and of course, I mean it's interesting, right? We had the same thing, the same sentiment from Ukrainians, and no, Ghanaians in Ukraine, including even medical students, until we had to force them down or get down some of them to come down, and the thinking was that they felt the conditions were, even though at the onset of some very precarious situation there, they still felt they were better off there. I mean, sometimes you can't blame them, can you? Right? I mean, if he was 15, like Priscilla Asante, and had difficulty surviving with a kidney problem, and had to beg around for money and still die at the end of the day, you will die anyway. And if you believe that the temporal problem with Israel and Gaza will cool down soon, why would you want to relocate to Ghana first? I mean, what real conditions will allow you to do so? Except those sentiments, if you peel it and get to the bottom of it, it's a verdict on our country in ways that we don't like, but it appears to be the reality.
You see, well, I mean, you're right. But when you look at the options available to these Ghanaians, either stay in a country at war, and this is one of the longest standing wars in the world, right? This, Palestinian-Israeli conflict has been going on for centuries. They would rather stay at the center of that than come home to Ghana. This says a lot, because isn't this what the gateway to Africa? Isn't this the home of hospitality and Acquah and all that? How long have we been saying amongst ourselves that no matter where you go, it's better to come home, you are safer at home, you are more comfortable at home, you are surrounded by your family, your friends? If things have got to the point where none of those considerations in the minds of a Ghanaian in a war zone, and you're right, it's not just those in Israel, those in Ukraine said the same thing. So if it's got to the point where a Ghanaian in a war zone, none of the benefits of Ghana outweigh the danger of living in a war zone for them, something fundamental has changed about the very essence of our country and what we represent to our own people. Something has changed, and not for the better. I mean, is there anybody sitting back and thinking, Charlie, under my tenure, things have really deteriorated? Is anyone thinking that in government today? Is anyone, and I mean, let's be fair to them, it's not only under their tenure. This slide started a very long time ago. I mean, I remember back in 2014 when I was getting ready to come home, the conflict in my head. I was convinced that if anything happened to me, if I had the slightest health emergency in Ghana, I would die. I was convinced of it. And in fact, that was the biggest obstacle, the final obstacle that I had to overcome before I felt confident enough to come home.
Maybe if you had more money, it would have been better.
It makes no difference. Listen, you think about this objectively. If Bill Gates moved to Ghana, in real terms, is there anything that Bill Gates can do with his lifestyle that, say, a Ghanaian doctor at Kolebu or a Ghanaian lawyer at Lecha and Ankoma, Bentiencho Lecha and Ankoma cannot do? There is a ceiling to what you can do with your money. If you die, you will die. Do you remember Dr. Plangerou?
Yeah,
One of the celebrated doctors in this country. During COVID, when he was sick, this country was ready to do anything to save that man. They sent our presidential jet to South Africa to go and find a drug to come and save him. He died an hour before the plane got back. They think some no day here. So no matter who you are, you will die. You get the point?
Yeah.
So no, it doesn't matter whether you are rich or poor.
The truth is that times are hard in this country, and I'm sure, all of us would. You can't run away from it. During the Russia-Ukrainian war conflict, I was surprised when I heard some Ghanaians saying they wanted to stay there. But it's also because of what has become of our nation. That today people ask themselves a very simple question: if I come to this country, what services are available? They ask themselves the question,
especially
all
when
the
you
time.
experience something elsewhere.
When you've experienced something elsewhere. To be very honest with you, if you've lived outside this country, if you've visited other countries, when you come to Ghana, and when you visited advanced countries, because our people say when you compare yourself to the dwarf, you'd always be tall. Mm-hmm. So you must compare yourself to the best so you can improve. So we will compare ourselves to the best. You would come to that realization that a lot of things are not working well in this country. What saddens me is that we have the men and the resources to turn things around, but we never do. What we are concerned about all the time is not the quality of life in this country.
Yeah.
What we are concerned about all the time is to be able to churn records that says, I pumped this amount of money thinly to different sectors. Mm-hmm. And that's always our problem in this country. So today we would have a conversation that says, we have spent most on the fight against corruption. And you ask yourself the simple question, what has been the impact on the fight against corruption? Spending money in itself is not ending the fight against corruption. Then you say, we have constructed the most kilometers of road. And I ask the question, how many kilometers of road have you constructed? More than any government in the Fourth Republic. Oh, really? How did you do that? Oh, I constructed some 6,000 kilometers of feeder roads. Oh, really? And I did some 1,500 asphalt overlay. That's the problem. If we're thinking about dualizing Accra to Kumasi, if we're so concerned about improving our public transport system, so that if I know that bus number 3 is going to move at this time to this place, what in God's name would I be driving a car that I would be crying every day fueling? I won't do that. Okay? If I knew that, maybe the bus starts at 5 a.m. and I have to get to work around 5 a.m., so I'm not going to join the bus. At least I know that I have no traffic on the way. So a lot of the things that we can do, we never do. And so when these people go to other parts of the world and they experience good things, they don't want to come to this country. But of course, like I keep saying, there are a lot of opportunities in Ghana. There are a lot of opportunities. And if all of us go, who will help build this country? Let all of us come back and build our country so that in future, our children will not blame us that we're part of the failure.
That's what it is. When coming home to your own country is a sacrifice. Anyway.